When you start your business, no one ever prepares you for what's in store. So finding someone else who just gets it is sometimes the thing that can keep you pushing toward that big business goal.
We're turning our Zoom coffee chats into a weekly, unfiltered podcast for online business owners. They were so good, we always wanted to record them and repurpose them for content anyways. And that's on being a social media manager.
I'm Jessica Sheehy.
And I'm Madeleine Digan, and this is
#managed. Welcome back to another episode of #managed. And if you're watching this episode on YouTube, then you can probably see that we are no longer together, unfortunately. Our quick stint in Charleston was honestly really quick now that I think about it. But yeah, we are back in our separate abodes recording the podcast. And I don't I don't know if I sound as sick as I felt earlier this week, but if you are hearing any nasally or anything like that, please just bear with me this week. I am getting over just a cold from all the fun and traveling to Charleston from last week. But hey, Madeleine, how's it going? How was your weekend? It's been a while since we've seen each other.
No, it was good. It was good. So I wanted to discuss our weekends because I feel like you might have done some reading on the beach, and I wanted to hear what you might have read on the beach. But also, so currently I'm still reading The Great Alone. Now the author is slipping my mind, but I chose to also binge watch a show this weekend because again I've been in my reading era, so I haven't been watching much just in general, but I decided to watch My Life with the Walter Boys.
Oh, do you
So
like it?
so it's kind of cringe. It's kind of so
Okay.
I love The Summer I Turned Pretty. Absolutely, it's one of my comfort shows. I love it. And my mom and sister told me like they watched the My Life with the Walter Boys before The Summer I Turned Pretty. And I was like, you guys like because I saw the trailers and I was like, this looks like not a rip off, but kind of was giving the same vibes as The Summer I Turned Pretty. And so I
Mhm.
can conclude that it very much gives the same vibes, only it to me it feels more middle school-ish,
Oh, okay.
and nonetheless, though, it was still cute, but Brennan walked in as I was watching it, I was folding laundry, and he was like, "What are you watching?" And I go, "Babe, this is apparently what the youth of America is watching in today's, in today's world." And so he stands there and he's like, "Okay." And so then we started making commentary to it, and I was like, "So there's the bad boy, and of course we have to pit the girls against each other for a little bit, and just like we were cracking up because like I highly
Mhm.
recommend like if you're gonna watch it, like it could be fun. It could be fun banter with your significant others. Like,
Mhm.
especially since it is like where you're like, I don't know. I find it interesting watching the shows that, the younger generations are watching and like again, I like to see the
Mhm.
psychology, like what lessons are kind of coded in these types of shows and just
Yeah.
you realize again where it's like middle school it's same again when we're young we're like you couldn't understand like to your parents you're like you don't
Mhm.
understand when now we're at the age where it's like oh okay
Mhm.
you went through life too you were 11,
Right.
12, 13 at one point in life
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but yeah so that was my weekend. How was yours? I feel like Friday you were still in Charleston,
Mhm.
Saturday you guys flew home so
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a good weekend. The start of the weekend, so I think I talked about this on last week's episode when we were together, but we were obviously together in Charleston for the first half of the week. And in the second half of the week, Ryan and I actually flew to Charleston and we went out to the beach to Isle of Palms
mhm,
for the last half of the week. And then we flew home on Saturday. So it was really nice. It was super windy. So other than it being
yeah.
so windy. I mean, I think it was, like, windy, honestly, everywhere over the, like, weekend, which is really funny because I know typically, the weather is always so weird, but for
Mhm,
it to be windy, like, absolutely everywhere, I think is funny. But still nonetheless really great to be like on the beach. And I always like say like, there's that is it actually called like the blue theory? It's like when you're like by the water or you're near water, you're like instantly happier. Have you heard of that before?
But now I'm gonna look it up.
I think it's called blue theory. I hope I'm saying it right and I'm not just like, like all crazy on cold medicine making up random theories on this podcast. But yeah, basically it's like when you're by water, you're like
No,
instantly
you're right.
happy. And I always joke, I'm like, "Okay, I need to, like, buy a house by the water when I win the lottery or, when our, like, podcast hits, like, top 10 charts and we're, like, making it big," you know?
Yeah.
But it really does, like, make you feel, like, so much better and so much happier. So even just for, like, a few days, really great to be by the beach. And so I actually started reading, one of my favorite authors, which I know this book I've seen this book on Book Talk, and it gets talked about, like, people either love it or they hate it. So I don't know if you've heard of the author Rebecca Searle. Have you heard of
Mm.
her? Um, she's written a couple of books, and so I read One Italian Summer, maybe
Oh, yes,
2
I have.
years ago, and honestly, I really liked the book. Like, I really like.
I do know this author, yes, because she
Yep.
also wrote, I'll look it up, but continue. So is
So
that what you read?
so I read In 5 Years.
That's the one. That's the one that
Yes.
I like. I think about that book lives rent free in my mind,
Yes, and
like,
so
all the time.
I love it. I'm honestly I'm almost done. I haven't been reading this week yet,
Just
but I'm
wait.
so close to being done, and honestly, like, I've never, like, zipped through a book, for lack of a better term, so quickly. Like, it was such a great read, and, like, the way she writes, and so the story, of course, you have me, like, in New York, like, a Manhattan, Dumbo, like, base storyline. I love that. So if you guys didn't know, Ryan and I actually eloped in Dumbo, so have, like, special yeah. So I don't know if yeah, apparently Madeline I didn't share that with her either. I told her last week that I was a red belt in karate, but I didn't tell her where we eloped, in true fashion, but yeah, the book is so good. I think it actually just came out. Her latest novel, I just looked it up, Expiration
Yeah,
Dates.
I'm literally yep, I'm like, "Now I wanna order that." But just wait,
Yeah,
so in 5 years, there's, like, a twist at the end, like,
okay.
it's so
I'm here for it.
good.
I love a good twist, so I'm excited for it, and I'm gonna finish it probably within the next, like, day or 2 because I'm so close to
Yes.
finishing. I just needed to, like, give, like, a clear, like, head to finish reading it because it's just so good. It's, like, one of those books that I don't know, I almost, like, wanna reread it again just to, like but it's also one of those, like, great experiential books that's, like,
Mhm.
oh, to go back to that place where you haven't read this book yet, like, I would wanna do
Oh,
that. So
I have 2 okay, I have 2 of those type of books that people to our listeners, if you're listening, the my 2 with that experience, like, I get so excited when somebody tells me that they're reading it because I'm like, I want again, I wish I could
Mhm.
go back to the first time I read it. Um, Me Before You,
Oh, yeah.
and then oh my
Yep.
god, literally probably my favorite book of all time.
Yeah.
And then the second one is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Oh, yes. So good,
So, like,
so good.
so
That
good. Like,
I would probably, like, recommend that book to someone if they are, like, they'll, like, classify themselves as not a reader. I'm like, "Read this book and you'll be a reader for sure."
yes,
Like
no, Tristan, the girl who worked under me at the boutique, like, she, I guess, is in a book club, and she just told me, like, she's like, "This is the one they're reading. I haven't read it yet." I'm like, because was telling me, she's like, I kind of felt, I feel in a reading rut, and I was like, "This is the
mhm.
book." I was like, "You have to read it,
Yeah,
like, have to."
yeah. Oh, I
So
love that. Oh, yeah. No, those are really good books. Yeah. I would love to go back to not have read them and to read them again just to experience it for the very first time. I like to, like, live vicariously through someone who is reading it. I'm like, "Okay, and, like, what do you think about that? Like, what do you think's gonna happen?" I'm like, I, like, wanna get inside of their head and figure that out, but no, I love that. I think that's so fun. So well, I love that. I think we had, like, a really, like, eventful, like, weekend of kind of like relaxing. I know I am definitely like getting over a cold just from, traveling. The climates are so different. And even
Mm.
like this week alone where I'm at, the climate's different from the start to the end. So probably not going to help my cold, but I will be on the mend probably in a couple of days. So that's the silver lining there, but more downtime to read and different things like that. And also, we've been getting like sneak peeks from our week in Charleston from our photo shoot. So it's been so great to like look forward to something. And of course, then all the like creative juices start pumping, and you're like, okay, I want to take this and do this, and let me make
So
this out of
excited.
this. And yeah, it's just so fun. So many different things. But yeah, let's dive into our segment. So you'll probably see this episode's going to be a little bit shorter. We're going to just keep it quick, talk about our segments, but we still have a lot to talk about because there's a lot of things happening at this very moment in social media, and a lot of things happening at the end of this week as well. If you're a Swiftie, you know. So should we dive into our water cooler?
Yes. Okay. This week on the water cooler, our guests asked, "How are you finding clients these days? Are you signing new clients? We are struggling to acquire leads, and even when meeting with a prospective client, not signing any new work. I'm not sure if it's the current economic state or what, but in 4 years, it has never been this hard to find clients and work."
Yeah, that's a good one. Do you want me to kick off with this one, Madeline, or
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, what's really interesting for this question for me, like, I think about it in two parts. So, when I think about, like, yes, the economy is so different in 2024 than it was in 2023, in 2022, in 2021, in 2020, like pre COVID. It's so different. And I use the word different because I, one, am not an economist. I don't know specifically if we're in a great situation, if we're in a bad, and of course, this is not the podcast for that. There's tons of podcasts that talk about that that you could definitely pop over and listen to. I think from my perspective though, like when I just think about how like I make decisions, I think it's just different. I think the economy, like people are spending money in different ways. And I don't think that necessarily means that people aren't spending money in social media. I'll actually share, I just read an article yesterday from Later. Shout out team at Later. We love you guys. But I read an article from them. I think they actually emailed it to me. That's why it was like top of mind. And they attended Ad Week, which so fun. I feel like
Oh,
we need to go next year. Absolutely. Like grab our
yes.
tickets. And they attended Ad Week. And one thing that they shared, I think they shared like a takeaways blog. One of the things that they shared was that brands are spending more money than ever on social media and more specifically content because they're really realizing how much the creator economy, if you will, has changed and how important it is. And so I think that's just one thing to consider. So if you're, thinking to yourself that, okay, you're not able to find clients, you're in, and even to you're not finding leads. So if you're listening to this and you're like, what the heck is a lead? A lead is a prospective client, someone who shows interest in wanting to work with you. So maybe you have some information about who they are, their business, what they're running, but you're not really quite sure if they're going to say yes to becoming a client with you. That's kind of where that they fall kind of on that journey, if you will. So if you're feeling like you have a lack of leads or a lack of clients, I would really look at two things. I would look at who are you trying to target? So who is your target audience? Really like get into the mindset and almost the psyche of who they are. Like, are they spending money? Do they see the value in social media? Because yes, Later is reporting that Adweek says businesses are doing it, but the businesses who are going to Adweek are different than the businesses who are maybe down the street from you or businesses that are in your DMs or in your emails. So, really just think about, do they see the value in content and the ROI that it can bring? And just consider if that's a big factor as well. And also consider, the money that they have to spend. I think for me with clients, when they always have to leave because of money, it's really because they don't know how to allocate their marketing budget. Like they don't know how to take revenue to like budget for like, okay, here's like my marketing and here's my ad spend and all of the different things. They just like don't know how to do that. And again, that kind of falls under the lines of, okay, how much do we really kind of guide them? But
Mm,
in some instances, like I like to have that conversation because I'd love to know if this client can only pay me for 3 months. Maybe it's honestly not really worth that much of my time, versus a client who can come on and sign on long term. And so the second thing and the last thing I'll say too is just really consider your messaging. I think a lot of times we get really stuck on the fact that, we're looking for clients, but do clients know that like we have spots available for management
mm,
or
mm.
that we can take on a couple of consultations or we can do a few content creation days or do they know that these are the things that we offer and do they know that we offer it like for them? So sometimes I think it comes down to like what your messaging is and who you're messaging to know if they can actually go from like lead to client. That's just, I know that's kind of on the lead side. I feel like we could talk like lead versus like signing clients. I feel like this water cooler had like a two-part there. But Madeline, anything that you would add to that?
Yeah, I have 2 things I would add. So the first, kind of piggybacking off of what you said too, do they know that you offer packages A, B, or C? Maybe it's time, and I'm just speaking for myself because I actually just sent out an email where it's like, for the longest time, I've offered management and strategy slash consulting, but just since I'm working on my website, I've really had time to sit in silence. So, like right now, it's not that busy of a season for me. So, currently, I'm working on my business. So, that's one thing, where it's like in these times where it's a little bit quiet, like maybe take it as a sign from the universe, whoever, that it's time to work in your business slash on your business, where it's like you have this busy season. How can you use this, or slow season, how can you use this slow season to prepare you for a busy season? And so that's one thing. And then the second thing I would say is, in that quiet time, reflect, and maybe you don't like your services. So again, this is coming back to me where it's like I will always offer management, but to me, I'm just like, it's not. I feel like I'm missing a mark, and I get kind of like your messaging, where even myself, where I'm like, it's falling flat. So I'm currently in a stage of reworking my services, and again, where it's like even sending out an email. Like I sent one out earlier this week, where it's like I'm wanting to create a new program, but before I even put that out into the world, I'm like, I need some guinea pigs first, where it's like to help me kind of come. And I think there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. I think you're going to make a better program
Mm-hmm.
by doing something like that, where it's like, I have this idea. I've seen other social media managers do it. I obviously want to make it my own. And so, again, for my niche as well. So I sent out an email and used conversations I've recently had, like in the DMs. Like, again, it goes back to the messaging, the
Mm-hmm.
pain points that I'm hearing from my ideal client. And I'm like, I can solve this. Like, I maybe, again, where it's like, in the past, I just didn't have the right words or the wording to sell this type of program.
Hmm.
So, those are the 2 things I would add, is like
Yeah.
use the slow time to just reflect and prepare yourself.
Hmm.
And then the second, where how a way you can use that, is like rethinking your services or how you sell
Hmm.
your services.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's so good. And one thing that I'll also piggyback onto Madeline's point about using the slow season to really work on your business is I like to always kind of go back at like the data and figure out, okay, where do my leads come from? Where do my like best clients come from? Because I'll say for me right now in 2024, like we're working with some really awesome clients, like so so awesome and not only in like what they're doing in their business, but honestly the trust that they're like instilling in us is so great, especially after 2023 being a really weird roller coaster of, let's say, emotion, for lack of a better term, with clients and just trust and lack thereof and all of that. And so, like, when I think about, okay, how did these awesome clients come in and like hear about social savvy and all of those things? Honestly, they all came from Google, which in my head, I'm like, it's so fascinating because in the past, like referrals used to be the better source, right? Like great clients would refer great clients, and that still happens. And, you know, great clients will come in through like Instagram and other platforms as well. But Google being like a main like traffic source for literally sending people, and it's fascinating because I can see it like on the back end of our website analytics, and I also like to verbalize and like talk that through on the discovery call too. Just
Mhm.
like I'm a marketer, like I like to know, okay, how'd you find me? Tell me the
Yeah.
process, like all of that, because it helps me understand that process a little bit better so I can go on and make sure like, okay, like does it make sense with how people can go from Google to this page to that page? And it's actually like really fascinating how quick it is that people go from Google, they search what they need, we pop up, they browse, short browsing time, book a call. I'm like, whoa, that to me is like crazy. But then I think about it, okay, how do I work on getting more traffic from Google to the website? And how do I keep like making the website better? Because clearly that's right now a great thing. But I think, kind of really looking at your like different data sources, like what brings in the best leads, but also still like I really want to nurture like our current clients, like prospective clients, even like referral partners I have, because I feel like people will refer you from so many different avenues, which is great. Like
Mhm.
such great power in word of mouth. But yeah, just thinking things through. So I hope that we answered that in one way or another. I know there's multiple questions, multiple parts, but hopefully we gave you a couple of like actionable things that you can kind of take, whether you want to get clear on your messaging, who you're messaging to, honor the slow season, or, in all honesty, if you want to kind of create a different service for clients, kind of what Madeleine's doing, I think that that's like a really great way to kind of generate, because I know one thing too that they mentioned was that they weren't signing any new work. So that kind of tells me that maybe discovery calls or meetings are happening. So there's some kind of disconnect there. So maybe it's just there's a lack of communication with what they're looking for and what you're offering. So kind of maybe taking like Madeleine's framework almost and like creating something that could solve that problem. Then you get more yeses. Hopefully that can kind of come from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we hope that's helpful. I feel like we will definitely do once I'm like back up and running here in a couple of weeks, we can or a couple of days. Oh my god, weeks. I just had weeks. A couple of days. We'll do some planning for some future episodes because I know we've talked about so many things that we want to do. Ugh, we I feel like do we not that I need to add like more work and Harmony's probably like no thank you, but I feel like we need like more episodes like pumping out throughout the week. We have just so much stuff that we could talk about. We could talk forever. But I think we could definitely do something around finding clients, things like that. So maybe now is a great time to also share if you go to hashtagmanage.com and go to the hashtag hotline, if you guys are looking or have any specific questions about maybe how you find clients, find leads, different things like that, submit something in our hashtag hotline. We haven't had anything yet. And like we said last week, whoever is the first person to submit that, we're going to send you guys a really cool care package. Like, I don't know specifically what we'll put in it, but we're going to have some awesome things. Like, we're going to load it up. We're going to take care of you. Like, it's basically going to be like a PR package from hashtag managed. That's what I'm
Yeah.
envisioning.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh.
I love that.
I'm gonna want it. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, like, I know we both will because we'll also be sporting whatever we send you, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so let's dive in to show me the number. So, really quick, just wanted to share because I know we haven't had anything for this segment in quite a while. But yesterday I was going through our podcast stats because it's been a little bit since I've done that. And I'm working on a couple of fun pages for a little website revamp that we're doing over on hashtagmanage.com. And we just hit 26,000 all time podcast downloads for the show, which is
Yeah.
so freaking cool. Like, it's such a huge number. I can't even like wrap my head around it. But yeah, just a huge, huge thank you. You guys are listening to this now, so you're contributing to that number as we're speaking. So yeah, thank you
And
guys for
also, this is
listening.
yes, thank you. And again, shameless plug though. If you want to leave us a little review, that'd be awesome. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I just they help us know they just help us and obviously like boost our egos a little bit. But
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know, a little pat on the back.
Yes. One of those things, like, you just have to, like, ask like, I know we said that's kind of, like, our motto for 2024, but you kind of have to ask for, like, what you want, and reviews really do help, the show, whether you listen on Apple or you're a Spotify listener, wherever you're listening. I know we're on a couple of other random platforms as well, but just leave a review. Like what you think about the show definitely will help. And I know on a couple of them you can follow, you can subscribe, you can tap for notifications. So feel free to do that. We do a new episode every single Monday. So rain or shine, sick or healthy, we are here recording the show, and we really appreciate that. So, yeah, we're excited. We're well on our way to 30,000, and then of course more milestones come from that. So, yeah, we might have some things up our sleeves. We met in person, so we did a little bit of brainstorming as a podcast team. So we do have some things underway. Should we dive into what's been on our feeds this week? I know
Yes.
we kind of both have the
Yeah.
same feeds, which is so funny at this moment because
Mhm.
sometimes it's so opposite and sometimes it's alike. But yeah, Madeline, do you want to kick us off with what's on your feed?
Ugh, yes. So again, like we said, for the Swifties, if you know, you know. But this Friday, the Tortured Poet Society is being released. And or society, what am I saying? I'm so sorry. Sorry, Taylor. Department. Again, this title is a little it's long.
We've had it for months too, and I think it's collectively hard for people to grasp.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the marketing. So first I want to discuss how very little marketing she's actually done up until this week.
Hmm.
She's Taylor Swift. So I think she's proven herself more than once in this lifetime that she is mother essentially. Um but again, I'm on Swifty TikTok, and some of the theories I saw behind like why we haven't seen so much marketing behind this album is because just with the two re-releases that are still needing to be let out essentially.
Hmm.
um I don't know. Now I'm drawing a blank on really why they sit. None of them like stuck out. Whereas like it just
Yeah.
makes sense to me why she hasn't. Like it for this vibe, it just kind of makes sense. But it's Taylor. So of course, so she had this pop-up, this Spotify pop-up in Los Angeles earlier this week. And I have major FOMO. Like, and again,
Hmm.
in all the TikToks I saw and all the articles I read, people were getting there at 4 a.m.
Hmm.
4 a.m. And like the pop-up, if you haven't seen, like it's like a library. And
Hmm.
like you already know there are so many Easter eggs in here, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like what? And also something that lives rent free in my mind is that I don't know if you guys remember, but her time spread that had like it was like with beads and everything, like essentially like this like artwork of her with these beads.
Hmm.
And fun fact actually for you guys listening, so I actually am online friends with the art director at times. She like also has a side business where she creates website templates. She is amazing. I love her, and she's a Swiftie. So when I saw that she did the spread, like obviously she did the spread, I was like, she was living her best
Hmm.
life. But in her caption, she revealed that there was, I think, don't quote me on this, I will be sure to put it in the social club newsletter. But I think she said there was like 37 Easter eggs. And like
Wow.
I feel like there was nobody else was talking about the exact number of how many Easter eggs were in there.
Hmm.
but I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, this is valuable information."
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the Spotify pop-up. So, again, I'll include pictures because, like, it is so aesthetically pleasing, like, ugh, again, FOMO, like, I want a picture in front of it.
Mhm.
But then also she in Chicago, which again, if you guys don't know, I went to school in Chicago. Chicago is like has a special place in my heart. But they were putting up a QR code, which you know what? Up until this point, I'm like, I thought QR codes were dead. I didn't really like them, but you know what? Taylor made me believe in them again. And like,
Mhm.
so the QR code was being um like they were painting it on this wall, and it was all TTPD and 13s. Like we're
Mhm.
making up this QR code. And I'm like, she's so smart. Like you can't like she's just
Mhm.
I want to be on your team, Taylor. Like please, Jessica and I, like please. Like I won't speak to you. Like I promise I will be a fly on the wall. I will like just play it
It'll be
so
play
cool.
oh, that's what I was gonna say, we're gonna play it
I'll
so
play it
cool.
so cool, so cool. I'll just be like, "Mhm." I'll just nod,
Mhm.
"Mhm," and, like,
Yeah.
internally be screaming, but I can't believe I said tortured poetic society.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm ashamed, but okay, we're moving on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is ultimately what my feed, and if you guys are following me on Instagram, like, that is what I've been putting in my Instagram stories because
Mhm.
you like, yes, I love her music. Yes, I love her as a human, but like the marketing is unmatched.
Yeah. So good.
Unmatched. And I know Jessica and I discussed this where, oh, here, let me go back to one of my theories though of why I don't think she has done much marketing. Again, I think reputation is coming. And that became apparent for me when on Instagram, you swipe down and it
Mhm.
like did this cool little effect that led you to Threads, which she's not on yet, but it said they're like, once Taylor is on Threads, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah.
Tell me that is not giving reputation. Tell me that is not giving reputation.
Yeah. No, and it was so cool how it, like, literally, like, Madeline and I were, like, talking about it, like, it we're just in awe, like, how is this even an Instagram feature? Like,
She knows
some
somebody.
yeah, like, half of the accounts have, like, the updated Instagram stories, all the stickers and all of that, and the other half don't, like, but
But
Taylor
that
yeah. So it's like,
but they make it happen for Taylor. And also we were talking about sorry, I'm getting so excited, but we were right before we popped on to like record this episode. I was like, you can't show a social media manager something like that because then our minds are going to be like, well, what else? Like, because
Mhm.
then our minds are going to be like, well, I want that for a client. Like,
Yeah,
I want that for my own thing. Like,
right.
that's not fair.
Mhm. Yeah. No, absolutely. I think one thing that I think, like, brands can take away from Taylor Swift marketing is I don't think enough brands, like, big, medium, small, they don't leave Easter eggs. And, like, Easter eggs don't I mean, they're not big, okay? These are Easter eggs. So, they don't have to be ginormous things, but they're really, it's memorable. Like, things that are memorable and that are, like, that can stick with you, that are, like I always like to say, like, think about things that are sticky, like, for your audience.
Mhm.
Like, Easter eggs, like, stick with you because it's in the back of your mind and subconsciously, like, when you're now looking at anything Taylor Swift and, you see a 13, like, her lucky number, like, anything, you're like, "Okay, immediately I can understand that this like, something's coming, or I can figure this out, or this is the next album," or, whatever
Well,
the
and
case is.
to me, it speaks to, again, this is why I love her so much. She has been the queen of Easter eggs since debut because in her debut album,
Mhm,
like she capitalized certain letters
mhm,
to like spell out a code. Well, on Spotify this week, certain songs, like again, she has you kind of looking in some, but you have to like so if you're on Spotify, you're listening to songs, like certain songs, like she capitalized certain letters within each said song.
mhm.
And to me, again, I feel like in so many interviews, like people bring it like, why do people love her so much, and I or like how she has built this big following. And I to me, it comes back to debut. Like I think I've talked on the podcast where it's like I saw her open for Rascal Flats. Like that is my biggest flex in life. Like to this day, biggest flex in life.
Mhm.
And so me being an OG Swiftie knows like she loved or loves Law and Order. And to me that always so like to me that's almost like she knows her target market and she knows
Mhm.
she has multiple target markets.
Yep.
And so for instance, for the crime junkies, like this is like they like it's just another layer, another
Mhm.
level of the Swiftie that it's just like they love that type of stuff. Like they love to they're gonna solve a crime.
Right, they're
They're gonna figure
investigating.
out
Yep.
who killed so and so.
Yep.
Also, I love how in the background, if you're watching, you like my mood boards. My 2024 mood board is here, and Taylor's right here. And I have next to it like the queen of the Easter eggs because obviously Jess and I are gonna become the second
Mhm.
2 and 3
Yeah,
of Taylor.
rightfully so. Yes. Yeah. Yes. No, I love it. I think especially if you're, everyone of course entitled to their own music and artistic taste, absolutely.
Yes.
But just as, you're listening to this podcast, you're a small business owner, you're a marketer, you're one of the two, maybe you're both, you have to respect the hustle and
Mhm.
everything that's done because it is just so fascinating to see it kind of like wrap up all in one. I need a conference, a marketing conference put on by Taylor, and I will be there and
Oh
attend.
my god, I would sell an organ. I
Yes.
think I think I would.
Yeah.
And,
TP
and
raise.
Harmony's told me or said she's having, like, a fun little tea party with like, for the release, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"I need more Swiftie friends down here." Like,
Mhm.
because otherwise I'm just having a tea party with myself.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. No, I know. So, yeah, so anyway, that is coming up, which is gonna be so fun. I'm sure we'll have more things that will, like, pop up from that, and of course, we'll have to recap next week when we
Oh my
record
gosh.
on all of our thoughts. Rightfully so.
Yes.
We did it for Cowboy
Yes.
Carter, so we'll have to do
Yes.
it for, tortured poets, the Tortured Poets Department, right?
Yes.
TTPD, right? I need to, like,
Yes.
remember that. It's
I TTPD
Mhm. Okay,
is yeah.
got it. Okay.
And again, I wanna know too, like, like, the reason why she did that, and, like, it is, like, a mouthful, and, like, I feel like she did that for a reason where almost like you think about it, like, slow your mind down, and I don't know
Mhm.
if that made any sense, but
Yeah.
it made sense in my
Mm.
head.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I
But what
feel Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but what is on your feed?
Oh, yes. So I feel like this really goes hand in hand with, TTPD, but my feed is full of all things Coachella. And I love Coachella. Like it's such a fun time. I've never been to Coachella. Have you? No.
No,
Um
no.
I've never been. I honestly don't know. One of my favorite podcasts before I go into all of the Coachella things and a couple brands that just absolutely crushed it. One of my favorite podcasts is Giggly Squad, and it makes me laugh so hard. And so it's one of my favorite things. If I'm working out, like if I'm walking the treadmill or on the elliptical or just doing some sort of like light cardio, I am listening to Giggly Squad because it gets me through that workout period so quickly. And I think like why shouldn't I laugh like while I'm working out? I feel like that just goes hand in hand. So anyway, it makes time to
I started listening to it because of you, because you mentioned it last week, and I really do enjoy it too,
it's
so thank you for that recommendation.
it's so fun.
They are fun, like, it's
They're
funny.
funny. Yeah, they're really funny, like, even without, like, trying, and oh my gosh, it's just sometimes they just keep going on a roll, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm literally gonna fall off the treadmill, I'm laughing so hard." But they talked about Coachella and how they weren't really, like, fans of Coachella for, like, some funny reasons that I feel like now that I'm, like, creeping up, like, in older age that I really relate to. One, that it's, like, a three-day event, so, like, by day 3, you're kinda doing the same thing. and I feel that. I
Mhm.
feel like I can't do, like, repetition in that way. I think the first thing they actually mentioned was the, like, lack of restrooms, which I feel that.
I couldn't, no.
Like,
No, ma'am.
I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I feel like this is really, like" I'm kind of moving up, like, in my age because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, yeah, where are the bathrooms? Like, what's the bathroom
Yeah,
situation like?"
that and parking,
Yes.
like
Yes. Yeah, and then I know too, like, so many people, like, stay, like, in and around, like, the festival, fairgrounds, whatnot, and people even stay out in Palm Springs, which isn't, like, super close, right? Which I'm like, would love to go to Palm Springs. So I'm like, I would rather
Mhm.
go to Palm Springs just on, like, a Palm Springs weekend versus, like, a Coachella
Mhm.
weekend, but anyway, I love the content because it's so fun to see all of the different houses, all of the different brand activations. One of my favorite product or brands that does such a great job for Coachella, and I just love the vibes of it every single year, just similar branding and everything, is Kourtney Kardashian's brand Poosh, Camp Poosh. I love it. Like,
Also, she did you see there's a TikToker who was like, she had Lemmy sent this influencer to Coachella, like, and the influencer was like, "I'm trying to go to Coachella on Lemmy's dime."
oh,
And it like and they did.
I love that.
And of course she's like sharing behind the scenes and like of course she like arrived to her hotel room with a bunch of Lemmy swag and I'm just like,
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so Camp Poosh, so fun. I love the whole, like, camp vibes, even though it's, play on Coachella and festival and everything, which is so fun. I I love I think for me, like, the creators during, um I love this is when I like watching creators and influencers during, like, things like this, like Coachella, like, it's so fun to see them in, like, different houses. I saw one TikTok that I thought was so relatable, and if you're a TikToker and you know these creators, then you can relate, but they were like, "I think Coachella gives, recruitment vibes." It's like, Alex Earl went to Poppy and, like, a couple of other people were going here and here, and I just thought that was so funny. I'm like, "Yeah, that's really relatable." It's like, "What house are you, like, running home to?" So I thought that that was such a funny, relation for that. But yeah, the last thing that I thought was so, so good, and I followed them on Instagram, and I don't think I really, like, watched the stories until Madeline, you talked about them. But Pinterest and Coachella, like, l so
so
good.
smart.
Yeah.
Like seriously, so do you care if I
Yeah,
like
give oh,
recap?
yeah. Yeah.
So Pinterest, they again, I said it on my stories, but if you are Pinterest's Instagram manager, would love to have you on the podcast. You deserve a raise. Like 100%, you deserve it. But so two things. So there was one who, again, it was an influencer, content creator, and they on Pinterest's Instagram made a comment. It was like, Pinterest, send me to Coachella so I can for their interview people in their outfits.
Mhm.
And literally they responded, they're like, done.
Mhm.
So like, and I also just, it just shows that social listening, like,
Yep.
they're here for it. Like Pinterest is ready. Like they are
Yep.
upping their Instagram game. And it is so smart because I just love Pinterest in general. Like
Mhm.
again, we have had our Pinterest episode, which you
Mhm.
should absolutely listen to. But so that's the first thing. The second thing is they had a tent set up, and I think it was called like the manifesting something. I forget the name of the tent,
Yeah.
but you would go in here and they had hair. They had like like a glam squad essentially, where it's like you could get your hair and makeup done. And of course, they had iPads for again inspiring these people where it's like it all starts with Pinterest, where it's like think about any event you go to, like you are going to Pinterest to help you plan your outfits, plan your makeup, plan your hair, hence our photo shoot. And like same with like hosting parties. And so when I was talking about this on my Instagram stories, telling people, because again, they were doing such a great job with their Instagram stories.
Mhm.
And again, that's Pinterest. Like, this is a whole other social media platform, and I'm just like, this is genius. Um, I had this epiphany. I was like, oh my gosh, there's still a second part of the Eras tour. And I was like, that would be so smart if they had a tent set up like it, like, so again, Pinterest, like, just, I would like some credit for this idea if you hadn't thought of it already. It's like, what if you had a cute little RV or a bus?
Mhm.
Obviously, like, oh my gosh, can you imagine how many people would want to take a picture with that Pinterest bus if it were pink and sparkly?
Yep.
So many.
Yep.
And then people could go on the bus or whatever, and it's like, get your hair to your era, same with your makeup. But think
Mhm.
about it, like, that is, and I would love to take a peek at Pinterest's analytics of like how many times like Era's outfits, Era makeup was searched last year and
Mhm.
compared to this year too, because
Yeah.
it's still going on. And like people, like, there's Era's birthday parties and
Yep.
so many things. And also, personally, I think Taylor should trademark the word eras,
Yeah.
because literally everybody's like, I'm in my clean girl era. I'm
Mhm.
in my health era. And I'm
Yep.
just like, she started it though.
Yep.
I don't know if she can, if I don't know if you can trademark that word, but Taylor would find a way.
Right. Yeah.
Find a way.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that would be so fun, and I think that's one thing, like, so doing a little research over the weekend because when we met in real life, we all did like a planning meeting because we want to do an event. I'm just gonna say it. I feel like no filter, just going out in the open. But we want to do an event, so we gotta speak it into existence a little bit. We'll keep a
Yeah.
little bit things hush hush as we like
We'll keep the Easter eggs, but you know
Yep.
what? We'll like reveal some Easter eggs as we
Right.
come up with them in the social club email, which you should subscribe to.
Yes, 100%. And so, with that being said, I was doing some research around a couple of different past events I've been to, and I found some really cool articles just about how many like brand impressions came like from these events. And you have to think about attendees and social content and prep and planning and tickets and travel and so many things, which obviously comes with the Eras tour as well. So I think that would be such a really cool thing if Pinterest could pull off that, because that like there could be like friendship bracelet
But
stations, like there's got to be something fun with like nail art or like
oh,
something. I mean, there's so many different things that like people are going to Pinterest to kind of plan for like in preparation. And so I think it would just be like that would be so fun. But anyway, kind of thinking about, like again, going back to Pinterest, like Pinterest did put out an article and we can probably link it in the social club. I can grab it for us, but they put out an article with like all of the different search terms that were happening during Coachella and just how crazy those numbers and stats like went up and just what people were searching for, kind of along the same lines. And people are searching for a little bit of everything, right? Because they're planning out everything. They're planning out from what they're wearing to the content they're creating to the photos they want to shoot. Like everything is being searched in Pinterest. So again, it kind of goes back to that thought process of, should your brand be on Pinterest? Um,
yeah.
A, go listen to that episode, and B, the answer is yes. Spoiler alert. So,
You can't, there's no, at this point,
mhm.
there is no industry that you could convince me shouldn't be on Pinterest. Even that solar, like, was it last week? Was our solar, or
Yeah.
no, 2 weeks ago was the solar panels? I don't know. Like, Earth Day's coming up, where
Mhm.
it's like, you can't tell me you can't write so many blogs and then link it to your website, like on Pinterest, and
Mhm.
link it back to your website.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I think one thing, and we definitely talked about it in that episode, like Pinterest is definitely a platform that I think like brands need to prioritize Pinterest and just
Mhm.
written content in 2024. Like, yes, Instagram, TikTok, social media still super, super important, but written content on your website, blog content, email content, Pinterest content, like that really needs to have such a big focus for 2024. So, okay, that'll be the last thing that I'll that
Yeah.
I'll drop for that. But yeah, definitely something to think about. And go listen to that episode if you haven't yet. Or honestly, maybe it needs a re-listen. So feel free to
Yeah.
go back and listen to it again.
Uh, sorry, I was like writing my little notes.
Oh, you're
But
good.
yeah,
You're good. Yeah. Anything else, Madeline, that you would add before we come to a close?
no, just let us know like on this weekend. Let me circle back to your original thing where it's like I feel like we definitely do need to eventually have multiple episodes a week, and I feel like it'd be fun to have like a weekend one. Not saying we would record it on the weekend, but like a fun little more, I don't know, pop culture-y, like, because
Mhm.
that's one of my favorite parts of our recording is like, what are we reading? What are we watching?
Yeah.
What are we listening to?
Yep.
What are we penning? What are we making? What are we cooking?
Mhm. Yeah.
Speaking of which, how is your cross,
Oh, my needlepoint?
your
I
needlepoint coming
haven't done
along?
it in a little bit, so I need to get back into it, but I haven't even finished a design yet. So when I do, I
Because
will definitely share, but I need to get back into it.
same with me with painting. Like my little paint by numbers. Yeah, no, same.
I know. I need
Yeah.
more this summer. I'm giving more time to my hobbies, I think.
Yeah.
More time to my hobbies and more time to like also to because I know you're working on the buzzing blonde, but more time to work on social savvy. It's been a while
Mm,
since I've like worked
yeah.
on. I've been working in for a while. So
Hmm.
I need to shift gears
Yeah.
a little bit.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I know this was a shorter episode, but I know we talked about so many different things. So, thank you guys so much for listening if you're here at the very end of this episode. And thanks again for just listening to hashtag
Mm,
manage in general. We hit such a fun milestone, and I know we're so close to hitting 30,000. So, we're going to celebrate that in just a few episodes, which will be really, really fun. Thank you for listening to another episode. And I just said that, but I have a cold, so I'm gonna go with it. But anyway, before I start repeating myself and have this the longest closing ever, I'll close it up. So, Madeline, any last words before we close?
nope. We will see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And we'll be back next Monday with a brand new episode of hashtag managed. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you haven't already, hit that follow button, and if you really love us, be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening from.
And if you want to be one of our online besties, you can shoot us a DM over at hashtag managed on Instagram and let us know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. Or, you could also share all your deepest, darkest secrets. Kidding, but we mean it when we say you can shoot us a DM. We love building real, authentic relationships with you.